Stop trying so hard in games if you want to perform at your best. Because the harder you try, the worse you perform. And I know you felt this. You're in a big game. Maybe it's a team tryouts, maybe it's a playoffs. And the moment you start trying hard, the moment you start trying to put in more effort, all of a sudden your game starts to fall apart. You start to overthink every situation. You start to hesitate in every move. And before you know it, you start making mistakes. And this isn't a skill problem. It's not a talent problem. It's about how your mind works under pressure. Most athletes get this completely wrong. But once you understand this one performance principle, it's going to completely transform the way you perform under pressure. I'm going to help you understand why trying harder kills performance. And then we're going to go through what the most elite athletes do instead when they want to perform at their best under pressure. Everything we're going to be talking about in this video not only comes from 20 years of my basketball experience, but it comes from decades of research into how the best athletes in the world perform at their best when it matters the most and under the greatest pressure. Let's get into it. In an important game, it's natural for you to want to try harder, for you to want to put in more effort, because you want to play well, you want to win, you want to showcase your skills and your abilities. But here's the problem. Trying harder is the exact thing that keeps you away from entering the flow state that you need in order to perform at your best. You see, you can't force your way into the zone. In fact, the harder you push, the further away it gets. This is because when you try harder, your body and your mind tighten. Your fingers get rigid, your shoulders get tense, and you begin to breathe shallow. Your mind races. You're thinking about the score, your points, the next play, what you think you're going to do, trying to prevent things from going wrong, avoiding past mistakes. You're overthinking everything. And so your brain shifts into threat mode. You become outcome focused. And this is the exact state that kills peak performance. You see, the problem is when you become outcome focused, your attention shifts into getting results. You're thinking about winning, avoiding mistakes, meeting expectations. And so you're not thinking about the only thing that actually matters, which is the present moment, what is happening right here and right now. When you're focused on results, you feel the need to control everything because you want to guarantee that you're going to get the results that you want. And inevitably, you're going to make mistakes. Things aren't going to go right? Nothing's perfect. No one's perfect. And then when things don't go your way, you start to feel frustration. Why? Because you need to control everything. You believe that you need to control everything in order to get the results that you want. And so that frustration leads to disappointment. That disappointment leads to desperation. You now want to avoid making mistakes again, which means you want to control things even more. And then the more you want to control things, anytime something goes wrong, you feel even more frustrated. And then you continue through that cycle, that loop. Now, the problem is that those negative emotions of desperation, frustration, the need for control, that tightens you, it restricts you, it makes you play safe because you're trying to avoid mistakes. And so you're no longer taking the risks that you need in order to perform at your best. You become slow, you become predictable, you become robotic. The harder you try, the more effort you put in, the more you try to control things, the tighter and the more restricted your body and mind get. And a tight and restricted body and mind cannot produce peak performance. This is because when your mind and body are tight and restricted, you become afraid of making mistakes. You want to avoid mistakes. You become afraid of failure. And this is a weak state to be in. And when you're in this weak state, you cannot enter the zone of peak performance. So the big question is, why does this happen? Why does trying harder kill performance? You see, the need for control, the overthinking, the being outcome focused, that activates the slow analytical part of your brain. And that system, when it's activated, it interferes with another system, which is the fast, instinctive, automatic part of your brain. And the reason why this is dangerous for peak performance is because that fast, instinctive, automatic part of your brain is the part of your brain that you've stored all your training, skills, and abilities in. All those hundreds and thousands of hours of hard work and repetition get stored in that fast, instinctive, automatic system. And they both can't be engaged at the same time. When the slow, analytical system is engaged, it interferes with the fast, automatic system. And you want to be performing from the fast, automatic system, because this is when you get that feeling of, I'm not trying to do anything, but it's just happening. My skills are just flowing out of me and I'm not even trying to control things, right? That feeling of effortless peak performance, that comes from when the fast, instinctive automatic system is fully engaged without interference from the slow, analytical system that's responsible for worrying, second guessing, self-doubt, self-consciousness. A good way to look at this is, imagine being in a car journey. There's a passenger, you're the driver. Then imagine the passengers shouting instructions at you. Take a left, take a right, slow down. Are you sure you're doing the right thing? Maybe we took the wrong exit. Oi, watch out. How is that affecting your ability to drive that car? How is it affecting your flow, your concentration? Now imagine that passenger starts to reach over to the steering wheel, trying to direct you physically. Then imagine that passenger reaches over and grabs the steering wheel with two hands, trying to take control over the journey. What does that do to the journey? It becomes chaotic. It becomes unstable. You lose your flow. The journey is no longer smooth. You see, this is what happens when the passenger's interfering with the person that's equipped to take control over the journey, which is the driver. And this is the same thing that happens when you start trying hard and putting in more effort and overthinking and becoming outcome focused and self-doubting and trying to take control in the middle of a game. The slow, analytical part of the brain is interfering with the fast, instinctive, automatic system that should be in control, that should be in the driver's seat. If you're overthinking every single possession, second guessing every single read, trying to control every single movement you make, forcing decisions instead of letting them happen, then you become like that passenger trying to grab control over the steering wheel. What you're doing is, instead of trusting your training, trusting your system, you're beginning to interfere with it. And when this happens, your performance stops flowing and you start feeling rigid, stiff. Your game feels forced. You lose rhythm. And now you can never be in flow. And all of this is why trying harder, trying to force more effort, can never produce your best performances. The zone of peak performance is where you play your best. But in order to enter the zone of peak performance, you have to be process focused, not outcome focused. Because when you're process focused, you naturally create some of the conditions required to enter the zone. So what does it mean to be process focused? And why does it increase performance? Well, it comes down to these three things. First, when you're process focused, you're focused on the present moment only. You're not focused on the past, what just happened, mistakes, the last play. You're not focused on the future, what you think is going to happen, trying to avoid mistakes, trying to control the results. Instead, you've got 100% of your attention laser focused in the present moment, in what is happening right now, right here. The current play, the current action, the current read, the current moment. 2, you only focus on the things that you can control and nothing else. You see, you can't control whether your shot goes in, but you can control your shot selection, whether you're on balance, how you execute your form and your technique. You can't control your defender. You can't control your opponent, but you can control your positioning. You can control your footwork, whether you attack or whether you hesitate, whether you follow through or whether you're tight or restricted. You see, it's important to focus only on the things that you can control. And when your focus stays on only the things you can control, your mind becomes clear, your body becomes relaxed, and you're able to produce your best performances consistently because you're not wasting valuable attention, energy on things that don't matter, on things that you have no control over. 3, when you're process focused, you trust your training. You're not trying to control everything. Instead, you allow your preparation to take over. All those hundreds and thousands of hours of training, that's what it's for. It's so that you can let go and relax when you're in the game and allow your fast, instinctive, automatic system to take control over the driver's seat. So stop interfering, stop over-directing, stop over-controlling, and just let your abilities flow. The hard work is over. Now it's time to just let that hard work express itself. And this is when you begin to discover what you're truly capable of. Once you let your body go, let your mind go, and let it manifest your training in the way that it sees fit. Just observe. Just take a step back. Trust your training. So all of that is what we mean when we say be process focused. We mean be present in the moment. We mean trust your training. We mean focus on the things you can control and nothing else. The only things that should exist to you are the things that you have direct control over and nothing else. And when you can achieve those three things, you're setting yourself up to enter the zone of peak performance. Because when you're process focused, you naturally create some of the conditions that allow you to enter the zone. So now that you understand why trying harder, forcing more effort kills performance, the question is, what should you do instead? What should you do when you're in a big game and you're feeling the pressure to perform? To play your best, you don't need to try harder or give more effort. What you need to do is you need to be more precise with the effort you're already giving. And there's a major difference between the two. When you try harder, it means increasing the intensity of your effort. It means pushing harder, hoping that will get you the results that you want. But when you do this, it makes you tense up. It makes you rigid. And we've already gone through how that kills performance. But when you apply precision effort, it means directing your effort precisely where it matters most and nowhere else. I'm going to help you understand what I mean. Think of effort like light. When you try harder, your effort is like a floodlight. It spreads everywhere. Your attention is focused on the score, your points, whether you're going to win or lose. What do your teammates think? What do your coach think? What's going to happen next game? How do I control the next play? How do I look? Your mind becomes scattered. Your body becomes tense. And when your effort spreads everywhere, nothing gets executed precisely. But precision effort is like a laser. All of your attention is focused in one direction, on the next play, the next action, the next movement. There's no wasted effort, no wasted attention or energy, just complete focus on executing the present moment. And think about it. A floodlight versus laser. A floodlight is light, a laser is light. But when light is harnessed and focused, pinpoint focus, it becomes a weapon. We use laser to cut steel. So imagine what happens when you're able to take control of your attention and focus it like a laser only on the things that matter. Precision efforts. Take something simple, like the difference between shooting a mid-range shot and a long-range shot. I remember back in the day, I was a sniper when it came to the mid-range shot. Anything within the arc, and I would hit that fadeaways, pull-up jumpers, hesitations. That was my game. But the moment I tried to extend my range to the long range beyond the free, all of a sudden, my technique would fall apart. You see, I had to learn that when you move from the mid-range to the long range, the answer isn't to put in more effort, to try harder. Because when you do that, you begin to lose some of the things that make your jump shot work. Your accuracy, your mechanics, your touch. You see, I had to learn that the long range shot is about precise timing, precise sequencing, precise effort. It's about the right amount of force at the right time, in the right way. And when you're able to give precision effort, that's what allows you to step out from the mid-range to the long range and still maintain the accuracy, the technique, and the comfort that you experience in the mid-range. When you're in the middle of a game and you're feeling that pressure to perform, the answer is not to tense up, try and force the game, or try to control everything. The key is to be more precise. Target your effort like a laser only on the things that matter, only on the things that produce peak performance. Things like placing 100% of your attention on the present moment, focusing on the things that you can control and nothing else. Trusting your training, because when you're able to do this, something powerful happens. You begin to make the right reads. effortlessly. You begin to execute without hesitation. You begin to feel free and your game begins to flow. And you begin to enter the zone of peak performance, which is where your best performances happen. Your best performances aren't about how much effort you apply. They're about where you apply that effort. Okay, so it's important that we pause here, right? Because I'm sure you're nodding along. You're like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, I can see what I'm doing wrong. Okay, yeah, I need to let go. I need to be more present. I need to focus on the things that matter, right? I can see that you're like, okay, I get it. But this is where I need to get you to pause and really take this next section in because it's incredibly important. You see, it's not enough for you to have an intellectual understanding of the things that we're talking about. Because once you're in an important game and you're feeling that pressure to perform, you're going to revert to the natural instinct that you have to try harder, to put in more effort, and to try and control everything. The real challenge is how do you implement this knowledge in the middle of battle when the pressure's high? How do the most elite athletes perform under pressure? How do they prevent themselves from trying harder and falling for that trap? All right, so that's what we're going to talk about next. So let's get into it. The real challenge is being able to notice when you're falling for that trap, when you're falling for the idea that you should give more effort, try harder in order to perform at your best. And instead, to be able to recognize that you're falling for the trap, to be able to reset your system, your body and mind, and then execute precision efforts in the right place at the right time. And to be able to do all of that in the middle of a pressurized, high-stakes game. So we're going to get into how the most elite athletes are able to do this every single time they play. First, you have to recognize the signal. This means you have to recognize what it means to be feeling pressure in a game. You see, if you're feeling pressure during a game, that's a signal that your mind and body has become dysregulated. This is why your mind is scattered. You're beginning to feel tight and you're not able to perform at your best. When you're dysregulated, it means that your system has shifted into threat mode. And when you're in threat mode, that is not the state that's going to produce your best performances. In fact, it's going to produce the opposite. You see, the key thing to remember is that when you're feeling pressure, that is the last red flag. That's the biggest red flag that you're not in the zone of peak performance. Because when you're in the zone, there is no feeling of pressure. And you know this, you've been in the zone. You're relaxed. You're in the moment. You're enjoying things. It doesn't matter who your opponent is. It doesn't matter how big the game is. It doesn't matter what your coach thinks, what your teammates think. It doesn't matter what the score is. You feel no pressure whatsoever. The zone is an experience of freedom. So the moment you're feeling pressure, it means you're in the opposite state of the zone. And that means you cannot perform at your best. This is when it's time to reset the system. You see, the best athletes understand how to regulate themselves, aka how to reset the system. And they go through this 3-step process in order to do it. Step 1, breathe. We want to take a deep breath in and a longer exhale out. This is critical. This type of breathing, so you think about it like 2 seconds in, 4 seconds out. This type of breathing sends a signal to your nervous system, to your body and mind, that you need to relax, that it's safe to relax, that it's okay to relax. And what that does is, as you repeat that breathing, it deactivates threat mode. And this is critical to deactivate threat mode, because when you're in threat mode, you cannot perform at your best. Step 2, you want to feel your feet on the ground. This is important because when you're in threat mode, you start to think about the past, what's gone wrong. You start to think about the future, what you think is going to go wrong. You start to worry, doubt. Your mind becomes scattered. You're no longer laser focused on the here and now, in the present moment. So when we feel our feet on the ground, What that does is it requires us to bring all of our attention on what we're feeling right now in our body. And when you bring your attention to your body, your feet on the ground, as you're running back on defense, as you're sliding, as you're standing, whatever it is, you automatically become present in the moment. Step 3, you want to widen your visual field and relax your eyes. Because when you're in threat mode, one of the things that happens is you begin to have tunnel vision. Your mindset becomes limited. You're no longer taking in all the information that's available to you. Think of a scenario where you're having an argument with your boyfriend or girlfriend or with a family member, right? In that moment, you're so fixed and focused on your point of view, on your way of seeing things, right? Or on the way that you're approaching the argument. And it's only until you leave the argument and you begin to reflect backwards that you begin to see the opportunities that you missed. You start to think to yourself, I wish I'd said this. Why did I say that? Right? Damn, if only I'd said this. Right? When you're in that situation, what's happening is that you're no longer in threat mode. And now that you're looking backwards and you're in a relaxed state, you're able to see all the opportunities that you missed in the moment. Same thing as when you're in a game. When you're in threat mode, you have this narrow vision, this one way of thinking. You become less creative. And so when you relax your visual field, when you widen your visual field, you're countering, you're going against that threat mode, right? When you relax your eyes, it forces your mind to relax. When your mind is relaxed, it's able to take in more information. When you're able to take in more information, you're able to make better decisions in the moment. So this is the 3-step process. Breathe, feel your feet in the ground, relax your visual field, relax your eyes, widen your visual field. And what this does is it disengages threat mode, which means that you're now in a relaxed state, which allows you to re-enter the zone of peak performance, to re-enter that fast, automatic, instinctive system that allows you to perform at your best. So after the reset, your job now is to apply precision effort to the things that matter and nothing else. This means precisely directing your attention, your effort, your energy on the next play, the next action, the next decision, on executing the next movement. Your attention is focused on executing instead of outcomes, on process instead of results. Your attention is no longer split between the things that don't matter. You're not thinking about the past mistakes, or avoiding failure. You're not thinking about the future, trying to control things or guarantee results. All you're focused on is placing your attention like a laser on the present moment. When your attention is fully absorbed in the present moment, you begin to read the game faster. You begin to react quicker. You begin to execute without hesitating. Your actions become fluid, automatic, instinctive, because you're now allowing the fast, automatic system to do its job without you interfering. You see, the best athletes understand something that most players never do. Peak performance doesn't come from trying harder. It's not about how bad you want it. Most athletes believe that more effort, more control will produce better results. But the most elite athletes understand the truth. Your best performances aren't about forcing effort. It's about being precise with where you direct your effort, your attention, and your energy. If you want to play at your best, you need to stop being the athlete that tries harder and start being the athlete that executes better. The next time you're in a big game and you're feeling the pressure, your job is to recognize what is happening. Your body and mind has shifted into threat mode, which means your focus is now on the outcomes. And now you're trying to control the uncontrollable. And that's your signal to stop pushing. Pause. You need to reset. And reset means breathe. Long exhale to deactivate threat mode. Feel your feet on the ground. in order to become present. Widen your visual field, relax your eyes, in order to relax your brain and take in all the information that's required. Then focus like a laser on the next action. You see, elite athletes don't try harder, they reset faster. They are able to recognize when in a bad situation, to reset, and then execute. They recognize, reset, execute. Recognize, reset, execute from moment to moment. They're constantly doing that. They're keeping themselves, keeping their system within that range of peak performance. And they're able to produce great performances across a game, across a season, and across a career because they know how to keep themselves within the optimal range. The good news is that all athletes perform at their best when they're in the zone of peak performance. Unfortunately, the zone of peak performance has specific conditions that if you meet, will guarantee you access into the zone. This means that the zone peak performance is not luck, it's not random, it's not mystical, it's not some spiritual experience. It's something that you can access on demand if you know how to enter the right state. If you understand the right conditions and you're able to create those conditions consistently, then you will enter the zone of peak performance consistently. The more precise you are at directing your efforts to the things that matter and nothing else, the better you'll be at setting up the conditions that allow you to enter the zone. So if you want to learn how to enter the zone of peak performance on demand and close that performance gap between how you play when the pressure's low, when the stakes are low, and how you play when it really matters, when the pressure's high and the stakes are high, then follow this channel for more, because the mission, the purpose of this channel is to help you access the zone of peak performance on demand.